everybody, and welcome to another episode of From BA to Broadway. You know who it is. It's me. It's Mr. Brennan, Stefanik, bringing you your general programming reminders. Folks, every Monday we are here with the main episode. Every Wednesday we are here with our mini-series In the Spotlight. And oh, would you look at that? Today is Wednesday. So, of course, I am not here alone. I am, of course, joined by the one, the only, Mr. Daniel J. Solly. Danny, what's up?
What's up?
How's
Not
it going?
much. I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. What do I got to complain about?
I mean, I'm sure we could always find something, but you know what? The sun is shining. We're alive.
The tank is clean.
The tank is clean. Danny,
Mm-hmm.
what are we talking about today?
We've got a bit of a beast of an episode today.
Oh my God. What is it?
Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast. Yay.
What did you think when I said beast?
Oh, I just thought it was going to be some huge golden age thing.
You
that
literally
were
like,
gonna
oh my God.
thought you were going to monologue for like 45 minutes.
Now, I have to be honest with you. The reason I chose this show to talk about
I am
today
so happy. God bless.
is because I needed to talk. I'm just going to talk about the Howard Ashman documentary.
Oh, okay. That's not what I thought you were going to say at all.
Oh, what did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say it's because we were watching season 2 of High School Musical, the series.
Oh, no. But I realized when we were watching
Yeah.
that episode, I was like, oh, this ties in well.
Happy
No,
accident.
it's because I need to talk about the Howard Ash documentary.
Of course. Okay, great.
So Beauty and the Beast, this is also an episode dedicated to all the Disney adults in our lives.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you.
I am not one, but I support the community.
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast, obviously music by Alan Menken, lyrics by both Howard Ashman and Tim Rice, with book by Linda Wolverton. And I think this is weird because we're going to talk about both the movie and the musical because you can't really talk about one without the other.
But of course.
And so it's obviously based off of the original Disney animated movie, Beauty and the Beast. It's about an unkind prince who's been magically transformed into a hideous beast as punishment for his selfish ways. In order to revert back to his human form, he must learn to love a beautiful woman named Belle, who he has imprisoned in his castle, and earn her love in return, or else he will remain a beast forever. And so basically the way that this musical came about was that Howard Ashman and Alan Menken were collaborators who worked in New York in the theater scene for a very, very long time. They kind of made it big when they wrote Little Shop of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were hired by the Disney company, the newly appointed CEO Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg, while Disney was going through a period of like huge flops during that time, and they wanted to kind of usher in this new age of Disney movies. And so they hired these, obviously up-and-coming big musical theater writers to write a little project called The Little Mermaid. And that is what helped usher in the Disney Renaissance in the 90s.
Wow.
And so this is gonna be a Howard Ashman tangent. Have you seen the documentary?
No.
I'm surprised at that.
That's fair. I'll give that to you.
If you have not watched the Howard Ashman documentary, it is a wonderful documentary about Howard Ashman, who was a prolific lyricist, who worked primarily in the 80s and 90s. He worked obviously he was a big hitter for Disney when they brought him over, but he also worked in the New York theater scene for like decades. He had a famous collaboration with obviously Alan Menken. They started out when they were both nobodies together. They wrote Little Shop of Horrors, and he was brought in to write the lyrics for The Little Mermaid. And he was the one who brought Alan Menken to Disney because they hired him, and he was like, oh, I have a collaborator who's going to write this with me. Called in Alan Menken, said, come to California, and let's do this. And so it was actually during this time period that Howard Ashman contracted AIDS. And at the time, AIDS was a death sentence. And obviously the public opinion on both gay people and AIDS was not very forgiving. And in fear of, especially he worked for the Disney company, so he kept it very secret, very private. He would literally go to work all day writing lyrics with Alan Menken and then come home and hook himself up to IV meds all night. And that's how he lived.
That's terrifying.
And he was, at the time, AIDS was the death sentence. There was no cure. So he was just getting progressively worse. And then a couple of days after him and Alan Menken won the Oscar for Under the Sea, he reached a point where he told Alan Menken, like, I have AIDS. I'm dying of AIDS. And he also told some of the executives at Disney. And miraculously, Disney was actually really wonderful to him. They were his friends and collaborators.
Oh, wow.
And, they stood behind him. They said, we love you. You're brilliant. We work with you. You're our friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
that's crazy. What a unique outlook,
Yeah.
They're like, we don't care that you're gay.
Mm-hmm.
you're still the same on the inside.
It's a wild theory.
Yeah, that's like kind of like that's like Beauty and the Beast.
Well, so then after the success of Little Mermaid, obviously, they said, okay, we want you two to write our next project. It's going to be an adaptation of the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard went to Jeffrey Katzenberg and said, I am too sick to come into work. Like, I can't come to California, because he lived in New York.
Yeah.
He was like, I can't travel across the country to work. I want to work till my dying day, but I can't travel for this. And Jeffrey Katzenberg said, okay, here's what we're going to do. He was like, I'm going to cover for you and say that you're a diva now that you won an Oscar, and we're going to bring the production to you. So you don't have to travel. Everyone's going to set up in your home, and they're going to work with you. And
why did they have to cover? Why couldn't they just say, he's really sick, so we're going to go to him?
Because he was a gay man dying of AIDS in the 80s.
And so he had to be a diva.
And so it was secret. And he was like, if you don't want to tell everyone, like, our
Understood.
cover is that you now, have an Oscar and you're allowed to make demands. And so your demand is that we're coming to your house.
Great.
And we're going to work with you here. And once you learn about this story, like, he was literally, and he was just getting progressively worse during the writing of Beauty and the Beast. Like, the whole story of Beauty and the Beast is an allegory for AIDS. Yeah. Like, it is an allegory for someone who has AIDS and is stigmatized in society. And you cannot remove the story of the Beauty and the Beast from the context from which it was written in.
That's crazy.
And you will never hear the mob song again in the same way.
Oh, no.
When you intellectualize the fact that it was written on a gay man's deathbed while he was currently dying of AIDS.
Crazy.
And then listen to the lyrics of the mob song, it is actually, like, it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It is chilling. It is no longer a skip song.
No. Wait. When was it ever a skip song?
The mob song?
Are you joking? That is the bop of the soundtrack.
Well, listen to it again. That
is the club song, Hello?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it really kind of flips. I don't know. For me, it flipped the story on its head when I watched this documentary. I was like, holy shit. And he unfortunately died 8 months before the movie came out in theaters.
Damn.
So he never got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
He did win a Oscar for, I want to say it was Be Our Guest, one of the songs from Beauty and the Beast, and his partner accepted it for him on his behalf. Sweet. And also, side note, if you do watch the documentary, which you have to, there is really, really great footage of both Angela Lansbury and Jerry Orbach recording Be Our Guest, like, in the studio with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my God, like, the three of, like, the biggest titans of our industry just, like, working together on something very iconic that we will all grow up with and know intimately.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my Howard Ashman tangent.
Beautiful.
I had to talk about him.
Yeah,
obviously. Him. His life, it's incredible. His legacy is insane.
Yeah.
And just to, like, put this score in the context with which it was written and by who it was written by, it's just, like, insane. You'll never hear it again the same way.
Love it.
And so right when the movie premiered, it's a musical. The movie is, like, a musical. And it was, and something cool about, like, Menken and Ashman is that they kind of brought the Broadway score to animated movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so Howard Ashman literally, and the animators talk about this in the documentary, like, they were like, he taught us how to write a Broadway musical and brought the structure of Broadway to animation.
Yeah.
And so right when Beauty and the Beast premiered in 1991, everyone was lauding it and saying, oh, when are you going to adapt this? When are you going to adapt this? And at the time, Disney didn't really have a foothold in Broadway the way it does now.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of, they were on the fence for a while, but kind of critics universally were saying, this is a better score than anything that's on Broadway right now, so we got to bring it over. And so Eisner decided to hire a virtually unknown director, Robert Jess Roth, because he was a successful director doing the live shows in all the Disney parks at the time. Mm-hmm. And Eisner also, I think, rightfully realized that he would have more creative control if he hired an unknown director as opposed to, like, hiring a famous director who would have more sway and more opinions. And they also hired Wolverton back, who wrote the original book for the movie. And so there's, like, they expanded it because the movie's 90 minutes, and the stage musical is like 2+ hours. So she added a lot of depths to the character, and specifically the Beast got a lot more character development. He got his solo song. And one of the biggest changes actually was that the enchanted objects in the castle, like the servants, they are not objects at the top of the musical.
Yeah.
They are slowly turning into objects throughout the course of the show.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, if we don't do the love thing by the last
Yeah.
pedal, then we will become inanimate objects.
I heard that it wasn't like that at first and they were objects, but they couldn't teach the candelabra to dance well enough. So they had to go with the human.
Shut up. Shut up. Get out of here.
Okay, bye.
No, I mean that choice was made for the logistic reason of okay, like we had this like dancing candelabra in the movie. How do we make that happen on a stage?
Yep.
It's like, oh well, he's not a candelabra yet. He's like a human turning into a candelabra.
Yep.
So it's okay if he's 6 foot tall. And then in an interesting choice, kind of similar to the director, they wanted to cast unknowns in the show for the cast. They did not want huge stars. And so 22-year-old Susan Egan made her Broadway debut as the original Belle. And something kind of funny is that she did not want to go in for the audition because she thought that Disney attempting to put a cartoon on the stage was ridiculous. And she thought that she wasn't pretty enough to play the part of Belle, who is considered to be the most beautiful girl in town. And I think at the time, you know, she was like fresh with her agents, like just hit the scene and she was auditioning for all these huge Broadway shows. And she was like, I don't need to do this, you know, like this experiment for Disney. But her agents were like, trust us, like go in for this. And she had never seen the movie. So she interpreted Belle as like a quirky, funny character.
Wow.
Which is the reason why she got the job. Because I think probably every other person that came in was just doing a carbon copy of the cartoon. And she came in with something like fresh and like her own interpretation of the character. And so she ended up being cast. Our other blue-collar Broadway icon, Terrence Mann, was cast as the Beast. Burke Moses as Gaston, Gary Beach as Lumiere, and Beth Fowler as Mrs. Potts. So they kind of took out a bunch of like Broadway hitters at the time to fill out the rest of the cast. And the original Broadway production opened at the Palace Theater on April 18th, 1994. And it ran there, this was very interesting to me, it ran there until September of 1999. And then it transferred to the L'Enfantin Theater in November 1999 and closed in July of 2007.
Wow.
Which is always interesting to me when a show is at a theater and then transfers to a different theater.
Yeah.
Because it almost feels like, was the millions of dollars worth it that you spent? Didn't The Lion King transfer at some point?
The Lion King did transfer. So it used to live in the New Am.
Yeah.
And then Disney was able to acquire the Minskoff. And so they moved it over there so that way they can keep it there forever, you know, as their museum piece and then
basically their resident production.
Yeah. And then kind of have a rotating door at the New Am, but Aladdin's been there for 10 plus years now. So
it was where Aladdin was.
Yes.
Does Disney own the theaters or no?
Disney owns the New Am. I don't believe they own the Minskoff. I believe they rent it, but are able to do like renovations like they needed to with the infrastructure. Don't quote me on that, but that is my understanding.
Quote.
Okay. Well, there we go.
It's quoted.
There we go. Sorry. I guess I'm representing the company. 1 second. Let me put on my name tag.
You are representing the company right now. They're going to come after you.
Oh my God.
Disney, come on out.
Oh, there's the drone.
They come out of your closet.
Literally. Mickey Mouse with a blowgun. Anywho.
Beauty and the Beast was Broadway's 10th longest running production in Broadway history. And it was also, at the time that it opened, the most costly Broadway production in history. I mean, a huge part of that was the costumes were absolutely iconic.
Yeah.
Anne Houle Ward was the costume designer. She's famous. She did Sunday in the Park. She did Into the Woods. She was a very well-known costume designer on Broadway at the time. And the iconic yellow dress that Belle wears weighed 45 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was too large to fit inside Susan Egan's dressing room. So 3 backstage crew members used wires to hoist the dress up into the rafters to store it between performances every day.
Wow.
Isn't that absolutely
That's crazy.
cuckoo bananas?
I can't even imagine wearing something like that.
No.
That's insane.
I mean, apparently it takes a lot of training to perform in that dress because, they were doing like the ballroom dance and you'll get swayed one way and 45 pounds just keeps going and you got to go the other way. It's crazy. And the Lumiere costume was built by a team of 40 people and included real fire for his candlestick hands.
Sure did. That was terrifying.
Insane. He had these like butane...
he had like blowtorches in his hands.
Whatever, butane canisters or whatever they're called that he was holding up like this the whole time. And Cogsworth's costume features a fully functioning clock on his face. And she said, I wanted the reality of the real person rather than the fantasy of the object. The essence of my job is to allow my real actors to take you to this fantastical place.
Mm-hmm.
And so something cool, like if you watch all the original, clips from that Broadway run, they don't use a ton of prosthetics.
No.
And I know they had played around with that for a long time. And I know a big struggle between Disney and the Broadway creatives was they need to be recognizable. We need to recognize the cartoon characters because kids are going to be coming to this. And especially with the Beast, I know originally they had Terrence's man whole head covered in prosthetics to look like the cartoon. And then, they saw him performing without it. And they were like, oh, he's doing so much work as an actor. We're missing every emotion because he, his face is covered. So then they opted for a more makeup-based approach, which is an interesting challenge, I think, for the creatives.
Yeah.
To straddle that line of like corporate theater versus like artistic integrity.
100%.
Which I think we see a lot of today, but at the time it was like very innovative and new. And during the Broadway run, obviously it was Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. We saw a number of famous replacements. For our bells, we had another blue-collar Broadway icon, Carrie Butler. Toni Braxton, Andrea McArdle, OG Annie, Disney Channel darling, Christy Carlson Romano.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Do you remember when she did it?
No, I don't.
Oh my God, I remember because I
wasn't a Broadway person.
I think she was like 16. Like she did it as a teenager.
Well, when you say that, I'm like, that feels like she must have been so young.
She was 16. I think it was when she was on the Disney Channel, and it was so Disney Channel could. I remember they did all these things on Disney Channel of like watch Christy Carlson Romano like as her stint as Belle on Broadway.
Interesting.
Doing the thing, and they really kind of and she's talked about it since. Very interesting too. She was like, I was 16. It was obviously a publicity stunt. And I was like not welcomed or supported by the Broadway community.
Oh
She talks about it as like a very trying time.
Interesting.
Of like, I mean, she was so young. She was like shoehorned into being like.
Could she sing? Like, could she do it?
Yes.
Okay.
She's a Broadway girly. Actually, she was in the original cast of Parade.
Oh my God.
She was the little girl who died.
I've never seen Parade.
You don't know
just
Parade?
Spoiled that for me.
No, it's like the opening of it's what the show is about. The girl who died. You don't know Parade?
No.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Whatever. Ashley Brown, another Disney Channel darling, Annalise Vanderpool from That's So Raven. She was the closing night bell. Have you seen clips of her sing?
No.
Annalise, do you know who she is though?
Yes.
Chelsea from That's So Raven.
Yes.
She's fucking incredible.
Amazing.
Like you should watch clips of her singing. Someone
that also feels like she would have been pretty young too.
I guess. I think she was older. I think she was like early 20s when she did it, probably.
Gotcha.
Because she was like, she closed the Broadway run as well. So she was like a little bit later. But she's someone where you watch clips of her sing and you're like, where did you go?
Yeah.
Why did you not have this gigantic Broadway career? She's got a voice. For the Beast, funnily enough, a man named Steve Blanchard played the Beast for the last 8 years of the Broadway run. And he had formerly played Gaston for 2 years before that.
Oh my God, no way.
Is that not the most batshit cuckoo bananas thing? Like sitting, I think the Beast took 2 hours to put on all that makeup every day before the show.
Terrible.
Like Elphaba on steroids a little bit.
Yeah.
8 years of that shit.
That's crazy.
I wonder if he just like by the last year, he's like.
I'm sure he got paid so much.
He's like 5 weeks of vacation, 10 days of PTO.
Yeah,
Like,
literally.
He's like, here's my contract.
I'll do 5 shows a week.
Insane. Our blue-collar Broadway fave, Chris Sieber, was also a guest on through the years.
He sure was.
Patrick Page and Jar Tartaglia played Lumiere at some points during the run.
I can't imagine Patrick Page being like a young person doing theater.
I know. I think he was the original Lumiere on the national tour.
Okay.
He opened the tour. That's where he met his wife.
Wow.
They were Belle and Lumiere together. And a young Nick Jonas played Chip.
He sure did.
He was a Broadway baby.
He sure did. Oh my God. Iconic.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Because he also did Les Mis. I feel like he was a Les Mis and Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if he did anything else, but...
Well, he did How to Succeed later on.
Yeah, but as a kid.
And then I want to say there was something else. I don't remember. Have you seen the Jonas Brothers documentary?
No.
Oh, that's a great...
Is there a Jonas Brothers documentary?
Yeah, when they got back together, they did like a tell-all kind of situation.
Do they ever talk about like the fourth brother who's just like abandoned?
Not I mean, like they address him, but like he's around, but they more do like the breakup and like the Kevin exclusion of it all.
That kid has got to have a weird complex.
Frankie?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a weirdo for sure.
Oh, is he? Do you know him?
Oh, yeah, well, no, but like
Personally?
I follow him on socials and like he's like a Brooklyn hipster boy.
Is he?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if he actually lives in
imagine
Brooklyn, but
if
that's
the
his vibe.
world knew you as Bonus Jonas, and all your big brothers had this big famous rock band, and you were just a little too young to be a part of it.
Well, he started making music of these past couple of years, and I think I forget for sure. I think his debut album was literally called Cocaine. I'm not 100% positive. Don't quote
I
me on that.
hope.
But I think it was.
If anyone deserves a bump, it's him. You know?
You're right. Frankie, get on the pod. Come on. Get over here.
Come on, Frankie. Come on.
Anywho.
And, this is a fun story. So in 1998, they were trying to get R&B star Toni Braxton to do a run as Belle on Broadway. And they were having, she was like a huge famous pop star at the time. And they were having a lot of trouble working out her contract with her. And so Alan Menken and Tim Rice came in for the Broadway production to write additional music.
Gotcha.
Because they used all of the songs from the movie, which were obviously written by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. By the time they were doing the Broadway show, Howard Ashman had passed. And so they brought in Tim Rice to, write more songs for the score so it could transfer to Broadway and be longer. And so Alan Menken and Tim Rice went out to dinner with her to try and negotiate with her and get her to sign the contract. And after having too much to drink, they got drunk and they agreed to write her an original song to sing in the show. And that was the only way she would sign the contract. And so that is how 4 years into the show, 4 years into the Broadway run of the show, they put in the new song, A Change in Me, which obviously is kind of an iconic song from that show. And it's been in the show ever since. And it's like in most of the licensed versions.
Crazy.
And that is why that song exists.
Wow. Thank you, Toni Braxton.
Yeah. And Braxton became the first Black performer to play Belle on Broadway and was the first African-American woman to star in a leading role in a Disney production in any medium.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah. And that's why we have one of the most famous songs from that Broadway.
That's so funny. They were like,
score.
let's take her out to dinner and get her drunk to make her sign the contract. And then she was like, I'm going to let them take me out to dinner and get them drunk.
She's like,
and get my own original song.
Yeah. And they were calling...
She's like, I've been dumping it out behind me this whole night. You joking?
What's his name? Michael Eisner, they called him because he couldn't go to that dinner that night because he was busy. So they called him and they were like, we think we promised to write an original song to put in the show. And he was like, what? And everyone was panicking and they were like, wait, let's look through the score. Before we promise anything, let's see if there's a place where we could write her a song. And I mean, I think it's a great song. I really like that song.
For sure. It doesn't take away by any means,
It's funny how, I don't know, you hear about a lot of times, arguably some of the most iconic songs from a show are the ones that are like the most debated over whether it's to be cut or not.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Like the whole studio wanted to cut Part of Your World.
Insane.
Because they were like, the song is like, it's beautiful, but it's a ballad. It's slow. The kids are going to lose interest. And Howard Ashman said, you will cut this song over my dead body. We need the song in the show. The entire movie does not work without this song.
Yeah.
This song is vital to the character and to the plot. And it is arguably one of Disney's most iconic songs.
That was a dangerous bet for him to make.
How about we were in 2024? When did it become 1980, all right?
Oh my God. Should I cut that?
No, it's okay. I knew you were going to say it. I was like, he's going to make the joke.
Yeah, you set me up for that one.
I mean, it is a quote. He said it. But I was like, I shouldn't say that quote because Brennan's going to make a joke about it.
Yeah.
Because he has no regard for gay life.
I can't. Exactly. That's exactly right. You can't. You heard it here first, folks.
Heard it here
No
first.
regard for gay life.
I mean, they almost cut Somewhere Over the Rainbow out of The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
And, intense fighting over it. And now it's, one of the most recognizable songs probably in the world. I mean, So just a little crazy.
Damn.
And also, after the show opened on Broadway, it was panned by critics. It was not well received.
What does that mean, panned?
I feel like we have this conversation every week.
I think you might have said it before.
Panned means like universal negative reviews.
Understood.
Like the critics hated it. It was completely trashed.
Yep.
But it proved to be a smash hit with theatergoers and was considered to be Broadway's first legitimate family show.
Wow.
So similar to Wicked. Wicked was not well received by critics, but it was kind of, at the end of the day, the critics don't matter. The ticket sales matter.
Exactly.
And it matters if people come, and people love the show. Tourists love the show. And so, no one cares what you say in the New York Times if the tickets are getting bought and butts are in the seats.
Take that, New York Times.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And the only Tony that it won was for costume design, which deserved.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast was my first Broadway show.
No way.
Yeah.
Yay.
It was the first one I saw. I was probably in like, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Did
That's
you ever
amazing.
see it?
No.
It was closed by the time Shrek came to town.
Yes,
So.
for sure. Exactly.
Have you ever seen a production of it?
I was in a production of it. I've seen several productions of it.
You were in it?
Of course I was.
Who were you?
Who do you think? With this physique?
I mean, you were Lumiere.
Of course I was.
That
Yeah.
was LeFou.
That checks.
I know.
That checks.
I know.
What a fun show. Yeah, I love it.
It's a fun show. You know what, though? I don't like any of the songs that were written for the Broadway production.
Interesting. Okay. You don't like Home?
I like that one.
If I Can't Love Her? Interesting.
I feel about that song. Do you?
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's nice to have a nice baritone number that the boys can rely on, but like...
It's just so long.
It's very long.
It's very long.
Yeah.
And I it's so long, and I don't know if the end is like sufficient payoff for how long it is.
Valid.
I think it's tricky. Something that I think the show did really well was that they reused the same creative team, where it was like Alan Menken,
Yeah.
Linda Wolverton wrote the book. So I think that's always a big plus when you use the original team.
For sure.
That being said, obviously we didn't have Howard Ashman anymore.
Yep.
And when you have someone A, who is like as brilliant a lyricist as him, and B, who I don't know what B was. Like
B?
when you have like
Guest.
when you have like a brilliant lyricist who had like such a strong connection with Alan Menken, obviously.
Yeah.
It's really tough to bring in another person, like no matter how good they are, to seamlessly write a song that will fit into a score written by someone else.
For sure.
In my opinion. And so I don't know. I think a lot of the Gaston song, I'm like, There's like a whole Monsieur Dark song. I'm like,
That's garbage.
Actually, that song was written to give Belle time to get into the 45-pound
figured.
yellow dress.
Yeah.
That is why that scene exists.
Ugh.
And so sometimes logistically they just need a break.
Yeah.
they're like, all right, Susan's got to get into that fucking dress. Mm-hmm. They made it 45 pounds. We're gonna write Monsieur Dark a song.
They said we're gonna give this featured ensemble persons their day in the sun.
We're gonna make their mom very excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think because the junior version that a lot of like middle schools do and like TYA theaters and stuff, is essentially the movie.
Oh, okay.
Like they basically take the movie. It's like a 90-minute version, and they cut out all like most of the Broadways. I think Home is in it.
Okay.
And I like that version better. I think it's just cleaner. It's tough because like Beauty and the Beast is an example where it is an adaptation of a movie, but the movie is a musical. Yeah. It's like an expansion of a movie musical. And I'm like, the movie was it's a great movie, and it's a tight, great, well done movie written by like obviously some of the best people at the craft.
Yeah.
So I just think when you're tasked with expanding something that's already as tight and clean as it was into a 2.5-hour spectacle, I think you're just like asking for things to be added that don't need to be added.
I think it's very much like we're going to make it tight and clean, but long, tight and clean. I think it's we'll give them a little bit more of a glimpse into these characters and this life and situation here. So
yeah, and then obviously I forgot, I don't even have a thing written about it, but I'll mention the live action movie.
Yeah,
starring Emma Watson and a bunch of other people that I don't know. Did you like it?
It was fun. Mm-hmm. I wasn't like, this is amazing. Like, obviously, here's the thing: Emma Watson can't sing. She can't. Well, I shouldn't say she can't sing. She can't sing to the caliber that she needed for that role. They did her dirty in that regard. However,
they did her dirty with that autotune.
on paper, great Belle. You know,
Oh,
great choice
if it was
for
a
Belle.
non-musical movie, I think she would have been great.
100%.
I think they really dropped the ball with that movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was god awful.
It was not what it could have been.
I'm like, you had an opportunity to do like something really good with this.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, maybe I hope this annoys you as a costumer yourself. The yellow dress.
Yeah.
I was like, what is
was
this
not
activewear?
great.
She was wearing activewear. And I was like, in the live action, endless budget remake
Yeah.
of this movie, where was the jaw dropping moment?
For sure.
And it just didn't exist.
Yep.
They cast Audra McDonald and she didn't sing the song Beauty and the Beast.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what?
In what world?
In what world?
Yeah.
Just inappropriate, if you ask me.
Truly.
So that's why I don't have a section on the movie, because it doesn't exist to me.
It's weird when like I came out of that movie and the standout for me was Gaston. You know?
Who was he? He was
Luke is it Luke something?
Skywalker?
Yeah, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, he was great.
Let's figure this out.
Luke Evans.
Wow, I was right with the Luke.
It was Luke
Papa.
Evans and
Josh Gad.
Yep. Like, great duo. I'm like, yes, this is if I was making a Dreamcast, you guys would stay.
Yeah.
You guys would stay in it. And
Yep.
who was the Beast? Someone kind of forgettable.
I feel like he wasn't
Dan
very well-
Stevens.
Dan Stevens.
Oh, he's a Downton Abbey guy.
People
Yeah.
were upset about him.
Were they? I actually don't remember.
They just didn't think he was handsome when he became a human.
No.
They didn't think he was handsome enough.
Oh my god, imagine if you were playing like the prince in the Disney movie and everyone is like, no, ugly.
And like the thing is, I think our generation especially does think the Beast is hotter than the prince usually.
Do you think that?
I do. I do think that is something that is unconsciously thought by a lot of the girls who have seen this movie. I think that
tricky.
is a sect of Disney adult.
You know, that's really fucking weird.
Yeah. They kind of went for it in this movie,
you know what
though.
they did? So I'll be real. I rewatched the movie the other night in preparation for this episode because I hadn't seen that movie in like so long. I was like, let me watch this movie. They look like siblings. Like when he transforms into a human, they have matching haircuts and they look like siblings. And I was like, what kind of Brooklyn fucking fantasy are you guys writing here? This is so creepy.
Yeah.
You look like brother and sister. You have the same haircut. I think they could have made it, cuter prince.
Yeah.
I'm glad that, it's funny though, if it was made today, with today's standard, the prince would be like rat boyfriend. It would be like,
would he?
Timothy Chalamet as the prince or Barry Keoghan as the prince.
Why would you say that? Oh my god.
Am I wrong?
They would actively make him look worse as the prince.
They're like, oh, rat boyfriend, it's you.
Yeah. His hair remains exactly the same as when he was the Beast. It's just completely unkempt.
And back to the Broadway version for a second.
Yes.
They've been like teasing us with a revival of this show for so long.
Well, the tour is coming right now.
Do we think it's coming to Broadway though?
I don't think so. I think they are treating this as the Broadway.
That's not Broadway.
I know. But
This is the one with the puppets, right?
No.
No.
So this is the revival that was in the UK. That was touring in the UK.
Got it.
It is coming here. However, it seems that it's going to be a little bit pared down scenically and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think it will hit home the way that we need it to, but it's nice that we will have a high caliber production around in the States, but I don't think it will be returning to Broadway.
I mean, I'm assuming at the time ticket prices were dropping, otherwise they probably wouldn't have closed it.
Mm-hmm.
But they closed it. I mean, Disney does this thing where they don't like to create competition for themselves.
Yeah.
So they only like to have like 2 Broadway shows on at the same time. They closed Beauty and the Beast to open The Little Mermaid, and that crashed and burned.
Yeah.
And it's like Aladdin is a hit and it's still running, and then Lion King too. I guess those are their 2 things right now.
But like Frozen came and went,
Yeah, like they haven't really been able to have a hit like the Beauty and the Beast since they willingly closed it. Just like an interesting business choice.
Yeah, well, I guess like in the Disney history canon, we had Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Lion King, Aida.
I always forget about that.
Yeah.
Aida is Disney. Yeah.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Tarzan.
Yikes.
Peter and the Starcatcher, and
That's Disney?
it was produced by Disney, yeah.
I don't really consider that Disney in the same way, though.
For sure, but like in terms of like their licensing,
Yeah, the Disney theatricals
on stage, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I feel like I'm forgetting something else, but whatever. A lot of stuff.
I kind of want them to bring it back.
I think it would be. I think it's time for a revival, but I don't. I think because
it's like a lost show. I think because it was kind of at its peak of running when we were little. Beauty and the Beast, to me and my nostalgia, is the quintessential Broadway musical.
Yeah,
where it's like I feel like a lot of people our age, your first Broadway show that you saw was either like Wicked or Beauty and the Beast.
Heard.
Like one of those. And so, to me, it's like, oh my God, Beauty and the Beast, like a classic Broadway musical, in the way that I don't even think of Aladdin in that way.
Yeah,
where
for
I'm
sure.
like, oh, like Aladdin, a classic Broadway musical.
Yeah.
So
I think if the tour like goes off like incredibly well, there could be potential for it to transfer and get the whole zhuzh.
But I guess they have Lion King and Aladdin, and I don't see either of those closing anytime soon.
I agree. I don't think they will be. So.
Yeah,
I don't know. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. You'll hear it here first, folks. We got our Disney Insider.
Exactly. Nope. I am not a Disney Insider whatsoever. I cannot speak officially on this topic.
I just need to be clear. We are not in any way or form associated with the Disney company.
Exactly.
And any of their parent companies or enterprises.
Indeed.
We just gossip.
Yes. Dear God. You're going to get me fired. Dear
God.
Yes. So are we putting songs from this in our book? I say yes.
Yeah.
I think you can find some Golden Age stuff, but also any character actor out there. I'm always saying Disney category.
Yeah.
An Alan Menken category. It is its own kind of breed of music. So I got it in mind,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear a really funny story about... So I have a friend. A faceless, nameless friend.
Interesting. Who is it?
And once, I'll tell you off on.
You can say right now, just so I know.
You'll probably guess exactly who it is when I tell you the story.
I can't wait.
And I forget what we were talking about, like books or whatever. Yeah. And a group of us were like, why don't you have the Bell reprise in your book? Like that would actually be a killer cut for you. You should play that part at some point. And she laughed and she was like, do you want to know why the Bell reprise is not in my book? And we were like, why? And she was like, so one time I took the train out to go to this local call for something.
Yeah.
And I was stranded at the train station alone, and I had to pee so badly. She was like, I was about to piss my pants, and the only two pieces of sheet music I had on me were the Bell reprise or the song that I was gonna sing for the audition. And so, unfortunately, the Bell reprise became toilet paper, and that is why it's not in my book, and that is why it will never be in my book again.
Oh my God. That is amazing. Wow.
She was like, my apologies to Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. I love your work, but unfortunately, in one special instance, it became toilet paper.
That's incredible. That's incredible. That's amazing lore. Wow.
Yeah, we still this happened probably 10 plus years ago. We still joke about it today.
As you should,
so
of course.
Funny.
Holy shit. That's awesome. So yeah, folks, I say put it in your book, I would say there's nothing in here that's particularly overdone in any way, or in any way that would be held against you.
And it's, very absorbent, I've heard.
What do you mean by that? Oh my God. Oh my God. Rest in peace to that unnamed soul.
R.I.P. in peace.
Yep. Great. Okay. Any other thoughts before we say adieu? See what I did there?
I don't think so. Go watch the Howard Ashman documentary. I cried my way through it. It is so sad. It's so sad. But it's also so interesting to hear just his Broadway career in New York, his Disney career in LA. And just, know your history, like that brand of what was happening to the gay population in the 80s and 90s. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And you can literally see, when you watch them accept the Oscar together, they're the same age, Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, and he looks like he's 30 years older.
Heard.
Like his hair is gray. He's clearly sick.
Yeah.
He's sick. Yeah. No, it's just a sad, sad tale. But, look at his work.
Yeah,
Look at his work, how it lives
absolutely.
like after him.
For sure.
Similar to like, the Jonathan Larsons of the
Yes.
community, where it's like what we could have had
For sure.
if he had still.
Yeah. Rest in peace, and thank you very much for all your contributions.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. As always, if there's a particular show you want to hear us talk about, you can let us know by finding us over on Patreon. That is patreon.com/BA to Broadway. All of our principal tier Patreon members get to choose the shows that we talk about on here. Of course, as I've said recently, iOS has these new weird fees. So I think if you're making any in-app purchases of any sort, I recommend doing it on your laptop, on your computer. It can be a MacBook, so you don't get all those unnecessary fees. So if you want to join the Patreon, I recommend doing that. You can find us on most social media platforms at BA2Broadway. You can find me at Brennan Stefanik.
You can find me at DSauls.
And until next week, folks, Marie,
Bye.
the baguettes, hurry up!
Oh, God.
From BA to Broadway is created, produced, and edited by Brennan Stefanik, music by Dylan Kaufman, and cover art by Jordan Vongsithi.